Hi everyone! I'm so glad so many of you were able to attend the Layered Cakes 101 workshop this past weekend. You guys all produced such beautiful and unique cakes, and it was really wonderful to watch all of you go through that process and see your creative eyes. As promised, I said that I would do another demonstration on leveling and torting and filling a cake here on the Layered Cakes 101 YouTube channel for you to watch and review as needed. So let's get started. This right here is a chocolate cake, and I have 3 of them, but I'm going to start with this one for you. And these cakes have been frozen, but they have been thawed slightly, like with 5 to 10 minutes. So they're still really, really cold, but they're no longer icy. So one thing that we noticed at the workshop was freezing times vary between person to person, your own freezer versus somebody else's freezer, and then commute time. So apologies if you came to the workshop and your cakes were super frozen. And as you know, if you remember correctly, we stopped and just took a little bit of a break to let them thaw and come back to a little bit more of a workable temperature. So you want them to be cold, but not so frozen where it's hard for you to work with it. So these cakes are pulled from the freezer, but they've been allowed to thaw slightly. And how long that takes will be dependent on how cold your freezer is and just the type of cake that you are working with. So just check your cake. If you start to cut into it and it's too cold, just let it rest a little bit. So I've let my chocolate cake rest a little bit, as I mentioned, and I've left my saran wrap on my turntable. I don't have my non-slip on here right now because it's not something too much having this saran wrap here. So one of the big methods I mentioned was keeping your arm tucked like this, not moving this too much. I'll do it at the side, and just allowing the turntable to do the work for you. You can use your clean hand to touch the cake and to guide it, but this is the part where you want to be really careful and be aware of the pressure that you're putting into the knife and not cut any fingers. So control the blade and the cake, letting the turntable do the work. So I'm not even moving this arm, I'm keeping it nice, tucked into my body, and barely putting the pressure into the cake. And since it's not giving back too much, I know that it's thawed just the right amount. Still feels cold to my hand. And I'm really letting the turntable do the work as I use this hand to push and twist into the cake. And that should come off. And now I have my dome off. So now I've done that with this layer, this one, and one more. So I will not be torting these 3 layers into halves. I want this to be a 3-layer cake. And if I were to cut them in half like I demonstrated at the workshop, then that would be 6, and I want them to be a little bit thick. So as I mentioned, you can control how thick you want your layers to be. I baked these into 3 different pans and just cut the top off to make it a nice flat surface. So in the next video, I will demonstrate how to fill these cakes again.